This video is on stock valuation, and in this video we are just going to give you an overview of stock valuation, what you need to know about it, the necessary formulas that you need to know in this topic of stock valuation, and how to interpret certain things. So to get underway on stock valuation, we will talk about the two types of stocks that are there, which are preferred stock and we have what they call common stock. So these two are the two types of stocks that we talk about in this topic called stock valuation. Let's begin with the first one, preferred. So under preferred, now what do we need to know about preferred stock? So a preferred stock, first of all, is a stock that offers a fixed dividend payment. This is just for your knowledge sake. A preferred stock is a stock that offers a fixed dividend payment. Okay, that's what you need to know about that. So basically you'll be receiving the same amount each and every year. It will never change. Whether a company makes losses, it's the same amount. They make profits, it's the same amount. These are what preferred stocks are all about. So there are ways on how you can calculate the price on a preferred stock. And in order to do that, there's a formula. If you're asked in a question, calculate the price of a preferred stock. So let me just rewrite that. Preferred. Okay, preferred stock. The price is equal to D0 over R. What does D0 stand for? D0 just stands for the current payment, the current dividend. The current dividend. Or another way you need to get to understand what D0 is, it could also be what they would call the last dividend that was paid. Yeah, this is usually D0 because it's going to start off a new period. So the ways they like using a lot to know that that's D0. D0 they would use, okay, the current dividend that is being paid is this, or the last dividend that was paid maybe a year ago is this. So basically D0 is just like the dividend payouts today. That's why they put 0, meaning the time period is 0. It's basically the current, like in our time today. Okay, over R. R, what is R? R is the rate of return. Rate of return. Let me just erase this for dividends. R is the rate of return. Take note of that. Okay, that's basically what you need to know about preferred stock. So you just look out for, okay, D0 to tell, okay, a preferred stock which was paying maybe 4 kwacha dividend. So okay, where there's D0, that's where you substitute your 4 kwacha, and then they'll tell you, okay, the required rate of return on this preferred stock was 14%, something like that. So what you just do is that, okay, there's again in a percentage form, just change it to decimals and then you would convert. So like they were saying, they tell that, okay, a dividend which was offering a 4 kwacha payout, we said 14% rate of return. You just do this and then you divide and you get then they ask you to calculate the price on the preferred stock. You just divide those two and you get the price on the preferred stock. That's all you need to know about preferred stock. So you just look out for, have they told you the dividend payout? If it's there in the question, that's what goes there on the D0 over R. R is just the rate of return. So preferred stock is a very, very straightforward stock, and that's what you just need to know. Let's get to common stock. common stock itself, this one is partitioned in 3, namely zero growth common stock, zero growth. Let me just write growth, might not have been very clear there. Constant growth, and we have what we call variable growth. Variable growth. Variable growth. So there are 3 types of common stocks and you need to know them. So we'll start again analyzing one by one on the types of common stocks. But just what you need to just know about common stocks, this is not necessarily that you would receive a fixed payout every time. No. It depends again on what kind of preferred stock you have. That's why I'm saying it's split into 3. If you, as I'll be even explaining one by one in each type of common stock, they'll give you the conditions on how you'll be receiving payment. If it will just be fixed throughout or it will change depending on the level of what income that the company has. But most of the time, common stockholders, when the company has more, they get more. They have losses, they also lose out, something like that for common stock. So let's start with zero growth. So under zero growth, these are the things you need to take note. The payout is fixed also. It just behaves basically like a preferred stock. So if you know how to calculate a preferred stock, the same principles apply on zero growth. Just what you know on preferred stock comes back to apply, because zero growth just behaves exactly like a preferred stock, because the dividend payout also is fixed. What do we mean? Zero growth simply means this. You might have a dividend payout just like that. As I said, it's just like a preferred stock, so they have the same formula when you're calculating the price on a zero growth preferred stock. What do we mean by zero growth? Most of the time, as we said, in under a common stock, at least you can be expecting your dividend to grow when the company has more. Now, in this case, or in zero growth, what just simply happens is that your stock does not grow at all, meaning they will not give you the percentage rate. Should I say there's no percentage rate to show that okay, your dividend is growing or your investment is growing, in short. So that's why we just said later on in the video that you get paid exactly just a fixed rate throughout your time that you've invested. That's the first type of should I say preferred stock. So that's the formula. The same things apply. D0 is just the current dividend payout that they're giving the company, and the R, the rate of return. The next one is what they call a constant growth preferred stock. Constant growth common stock. Constant growth common stock. So this one, what do they mean by constant growth? This one, what happens is that they will give you a certain growth rate. They'll give you a certain growth rate because they've told you it's a constant growth. Meaning they'll give you that, okay, your dividend will be growing, but at a constant rate throughout the time period. First of all, let me give you the general formula, then I'll be explaining how this actually works. They might ask you, okay, calculate the price on a constant growth common stock. The formula that we use is this: D1 over K minus G. Other books would say this, so that you don't get confused when you see other books. Other books would say R minus G. It's one and the same thing. The K there you're seeing just stands for the same rate of return. The same thing we've been talking about, just a rate of return. Although here they've used K in some books use R. G stands for the growth rate. What about that D1 we are seeing on top? What is D1 equal to? Well, D1 is basically the next dividend to be paid. If you notice, that time we've been writing D0, right? D0 is just like the current. Then D1, if anything, what they say about this one is that this is the dividend paid at the end of year 1. That's why there's even 1 on it. dividend paid at the end of year 1. So usually if it's in tests, how do you identify D1? D1, you would look at words like the next dividend that was paid, the dividend at the end of the year or year 1. Such things, you know, okay, this is D1 being talked about. What if they're asking a question on constant growth and they have not told you D1? What do you do in that scenario? They just told you, okay, the current dividend is 4 kwacha. Does that still mean that that is D1? No, we just said earlier on that when they say current dividend, that is not your D1, it's D0. There's a difference actually. But that D0, do not neglect it. It can actually help you find D1, which is very much key in the constant growth formula. So first of all, let me show you how you can get D1 if you're not given. D1 is equal to this. So have you seen D0 there is even working already? Something, do not neglect it. Just because you're given D0 doesn't mean the question is wrong or they've left out something. So when you're getting D1, this is the formula we follow. D0, 1 plus G. What is G? G is the growth rate, and it will be given in the question. Don't worry. D0, maybe they will tell you, okay, D0 is 4 kwacha. They will tell you, okay, the current dividend is 4 kwacha, and we said current is as good as D0. Open brackets 1 plus G. Maybe they tell you, okay, the growth rate is 5%. Change it to decimals, 0.05. And then you punch. When you multiply, you would end up finding that to become 4 multiplied by whatever is in the brackets, that will be your new D1. So in short, what am I trying to say? When you've been given maybe D0 in a question, it's not to panic. You can just use this model and get your D1 and go and substitute where? In the formula for constant growth rate. We said there are two formulas. There's one with the K. The K just stands for rate of return also in other books. Other books will just use the normal R, which stands for rate of return. So that's what they actually simply mean by constant growth rate, is that they'll just give you a rate which will be growing constantly at a constant growth rate, and they would specify this one. Do not worry, a question that is on constant growth rate on a common stock will be specified. Just look out for those keywords: constant growth, such stuff, constant growth rate, just be abbreviating G, constant growth, you know. And as we said, this is usually the way you would know at all, okay, I'm now dealing with constant growth. They would specify. Another person might ask, will they specify that it's preferred stock, common stock? Most of the time they will. If they don't tell you, and maybe the question is talking about a certain stock with a constant growth rate of what, from your thinking you'll just be like, okay, a preferred stock has no kind of growth, so automatically this is an application of what, common stock, and specifically constant growth rate of a what's this, common stock. Let's look at the last one, variable growth. This is another type of should I say common stock, constant growth common stock. Under this one, what happens is that a stock is not constant. As we said, it's variable. As I was mentioning earlier on, when maybe the company is receiving more, they give a high return. The company is in losses, it goes down. This is the model that is depicted by such a kind of common stock. So usually a question on variable growth, you will be noticing such kind of scenarios, and let me even show you such. When you see such questions, you are never lost. They will be telling you such, maybe from year 1 to year 2, they'll tell, okay, the growth rate was equal to 5%. As if it's not over, year 3 to 4, they tell, okay, the growth rate is now 7. Have you seen any constantness there? No, right? Year 1 to year 2 is like this. Year 3 to year 4, things have changed again. Then they come and tell, okay, year 5, things are now back constantly, and they even give you a certain rate. Things are now constant, and they even give, okay, it's now growing at a certain constant rate of maybe 10%. something like that. So basically, how we identify, as we said, questions on variable growth, we just look at such details. It's growing like this for a short while, it has dropped. So there's a way of calculating variable growth common stocks, and I'm going to just show you a quick way of calculating that in this video. So how do you know basically how to do this? So let me just draw up a table. So usually we try to tabulate such things in a table to be able to monitor the growth of that particular stock. Okay, so you would have your first column, or should I say the first column can be side with A, cash flow, 1 plus G. Here you have what they call dividends. Here you have interest factor, IF. The interest factor will tell you which table you'll be using, and then of course PV, present value. So at least you know that, okay, present value. So that topic, time value of money, comes back. It's applying itself in stock valuation. That is why topics in this course, they are so much interrelated. You really need to understand one to go to the other. So usually when we're calculating prices on stocks, we always bring them to the present. That's why you'll be seeing questions that are asking you, calculate the price of the stock today. If you remember in present value, or should I say in time value of money, we are saying that when you're asked in a question today, it's basically present day. So you might be given a table like that, maybe A1, A2, A3, something like that, and you'll be given yourself with a particular, should I say, cash flow values, the 1 plus G there, and then of course you have your dividend payout, then you have your interest factor, which you get from an interest factor table. I'll tell you which table. We just know it's a present value table, but I'll specify which one you need to use. So this is basically what you'll be putting in there, and that, and that. That's how the table looks like. Then you sum up the last column like that. So usually the rules are that what you put in this table are the time periods when the stock was under variable growth. The time period when the stock was under variable growth. Now the question will be, how do I know? I'll show you very soon. I just want to first show you what these columns mean. Cash flow. What do we put in cash flow? Usually what goes in cash flow there in the line for A1, usually it's D0. Take note of this. Usually in the line under A1, the first column there, cash flow, it's D0 which goes there. What is in the next column? 1 plus G. If you rewind in this video, when you're multiplying D0 by 1 plus G, what are you trying to get in the end of the day? D1. So basically what's happening here is that we've started with D0 as of the cash flow column, A1, right? And then the next column says 1 plus G. So meaning that D0 has grown and has become what? D1, at the end of A1. I hope this will make sense. Your D0 there, you put it. Let me just be doing this. Let me erase this to our items. So I'm just going to just try to take a rough table here just for you to grasp that concepts there. Div. Okay. So I was saying what usually goes here of A1 is your D0. Here there is what? 1 plus G in this column. It's like what you're doing is that you're multiplying D0 plus 1 plus G. So I said if you rewind this video, you find that when we're doing that, we're actually changing to D1. And D1 comes here. So the trick is that just know that in this column, there should be D1 here, D2, here D, D3. Meaning, as of year 2, what cash flow are you going to put? D1. So dividends basically, they help make the next dividend in short. D0 will grow and become D1. You go to year 2, D1 will grow to make you D2, as you're seeing there, like that. In year 3, D2 will grow to make you what? D3. So what happens is that once you just know the first cash flow, it will be building on its own. So like for example, you might have been told what? Maybe okay, the current, we said the word current. Basically it's D0. They tell okay, the current dividend is 4 kwacha. They tell you that okay, 4 kwacha. Then they tell you that okay, the growth rate was at 5%. For example, okay, for the first 2 years it was 5%. Okay, so you'd be like okay, 4, you would put 4 in that column for cash flow as of year 1. Then 1 multiplied by 1 plus G. 1 plus G. Okay, G we've told us okay, 5%. We should get, of course, when you multiply that, when you try to punch that, you should get your what? Your D1. Because we said earlier on D0, look on the top of the screen, D0 when multiplied by 1 plus G, it gives you D1. Take note of that. Once you get your D1, if you rewind on the video, you even put D1 in that couple into I've told you what D1 should sit. Then go to year 2, D1 will start and also build to D2. That just simply means D1, for example, as we said, the D1 will also be multiplied by again 1 plus G in that column to make what? D2. Just like that. Until the, should I say, the variable growth period ends. That's when this process stops. So you even have D6 just going. Okay, so that's what will be happening. So if you maybe your D1 came up as 5, again to be like 5, again 1 plus 0.05, you make your D2. Again, okay, D2 maybe comes out, for example, just comes out as 6. Okay, D2 is now 6. D2 will make D3, just like that. Just remember that table, and that's how we change these dividends. Yeah. Now I was saying, how do you know what to record in the table? Because the rules are that only record the time period that the stock was undergoing variable growth. I gave this first example in the beginning of variable growth. I was like, for example, they tell you from year 1 to year 2, it's growing at 5%. Year 3 to 4, it's growing at 7%. Okay, then they tell okay, then they just say okay, thereafter it's constant. They just say this, thereafter it's constant. Okay, you want to now know what are you going to include? How many years will you include in the table? Because there's a column for years. How many years will you include in the table? So what you just do is simply this. Me, I usually just picture it like it's like a graph. Okay, you'll be like, okay, it's for example, it says from here, like I'll put into my years here 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Then you're like, okay, it has grown first for the first 2 years at a 5% rate. Then again, it has further shifted higher. It has changed as of maybe a 4. Then now it became what? Constant thereafter. So what you're just focused on in your table is just the first 4 years. Why the first 4 years? It's the only time period that was showing variable growth. Thereafter, things became what? Constant. So meaning if you bring up that table, you just include the column which will just have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you start computing, as I even told you, okay, of course the first one should be D0. You get your D1 just like that. You go to A2, D1 will make D2, you're in your table right now. Next, okay, D3 will make D4. Then the next one, D5 will make D, should I say 6? Sorry, D4. Let me write this well. D4 will make D5. And basically, that's what we do. So which table do you use in this topic? We said we're discounting to the present. We just use this table. The PVIF table, that's all. So what will be happening is like if you're in the line for year 1, which interest factor do you put in the line for year 1? You just go to the table, year 1, the rate that is, maybe they told you 10% in the question. So just go put year 1 there, and you locate the interest factor that's there. Year 2, same story. Year 2 you follow, under 10%, you will locate just like that until the years are done. And what happens is that in the last column, that column which was written as PV, what happens is that you just have to, once you've listed, you just sum it up. That's the PV. You've answered the present value first of the time when it was under supernormal growth. Then there's a time period now when it becomes constant. They tell that, okay, it now begins to grow at a constant rate of, for example, maybe 10%. It now becomes constant thereafter. What comes to happen is that, okay, for example, your table ended on year 4. Let's use the same example I was using. We said for 4 years it was variable, right? Meaning it became constant most likely in year 5, something like that. So meaning we are looking for the dividend that became constant, where that is 5. Okay, so D5. So if anything, D5 is the one we are interested in. So what happens is that I want to now compute the price of the stocks that came after when the period was now under constant growth period. So we just get back to that same formula we learned, which for constant growth is K minus G. Because the rules say that after you've computed like what I've shown you in the time when it was variable, they also say compute for the time now that it became constant. And as we learned earlier on, when it's constant growth, this is the formula that you should use. Now my question is that for example, your table ended with let's say D5. D5 was your last value when they in the table. What dividend will you use in this computation? That's just the new trick. What dividend do you use? Use the next one. If it ended on D5, use the next one, because as you said, D5 was as of the time when things were variable. Meaning when things are constant, things will start where? On D6. And that is what you're going to do. You put D6, and as we said, one of the dividends can help you find the other. D5 can help you find D6, just the same process. 1 plus G, you get your D6. But just be careful. The growth rate that you're going to use here this time around when converting to D6 is the one for the period when things have now become what? Constant. After you compute, you get your price, for example, under this computation of constant. You already had your price, we said, from that computation of the PV column computation, you had this total plus this price now, this price that you've just gotten right now when things are constant, you've just computed right now. That total you have, the rule is that you're supposed to discount it first as well. Discount it to the present with which time, which number of years. Use the time of years that the variable growth took, and once you do that, you get your answer. Just come and add here. You add that from the PV column of those ones which are in the variable growth. Add this one. First of all, you find the price, discount it for the time period that things were variable, and then you add up their answers and you get what they call P0, the price of the stock today. Basically, that's how you handle. So this is just an overview on stock valuation. I hope this intro will really help you out and give you an understanding on what stock valuation is all about.